Welcome to Training the Female Athlete. We're going to give a brief disclaimer on what it means to be a female athlete. And that is that you don't have to compete to be a female athlete. Something that I started to develop early in my career was I didn't like calling my clients because I became quite good friends with all of my clients, and I felt a little bit rude referring to them, I'm just with a client. It's like, I'm not with a client, I'm with my friend. And it feels like too much of a business transaction. So I did deal with athletes, and then I just started calling everyone my athlete. So they didn't have to compete to be called an athlete. But it didn't mean that I just wanted to call anyone an athlete. You're just all athletes, you don't do anything, but you're an athlete, okay? We taught them how to be an athlete, and this is what we want to teach you guys, okay? To be a female athlete, you don't have to compete, but we want to teach you guys to have the mindset of an athlete. We want to give you guys the tools and the structure to work and live and view your training as an athlete would, okay? And it's the same for all of your clients, or you can use my terminology as well and call your clients your athletes as well. I just found it a nicer way, and they felt like it was a nice compliment as well. So that's what it means to be a female athlete. Now, these are a lot of the points that we are going to be going through, okay? So it's basically the outcomes of the day or the outcomes of the weekend is the things that we're going to be teaching you guys is where to start when someone walks in the gym for the very first time. Okay, so coming back to athlete, like you don't have to be advanced to want to be an athlete. You can be an absolute beginner and look up to people and say, this is what I want to be one day. But all advanced and elite athletes started as beginners and started from day zero where they've never stepped foot in the gym before. And this is what we're going to give you guys, is the tools to be able to work, whether it's yourself or with anyone, okay, on day one of their training, regardless of their goal. There's three main reasons why anyone would want to walk in this gym setting. Do you guys want to contribute and let us know what you think those three reasons might be? The three main goals of training with weights. Strength. I love that. I put that under the category of performance. Yeah, what else? I love longevity. Now, the fact is longevity, to be strong, you need longevity. And for all of the reasons that we train in the gym, we need longevity. So that's kind of like an overlying word. I love that word. And that applies to everything. What else? Aesthetics. Yeah, we want to look good, right? You know, the fact is a lot of people that might come for performance goals still kind of want to look good. Okay, and I work with some pretty big, gruesome men that you'd look at and think maybe aesthetics isn't their goal. But I promise you, they still look in the mirror every morning and look at their hair and fix the way that they present themselves. Okay, and vanity is a huge thing, and don't feel bad about that. Okay, so aesthetics is a huge goal. And what else? Kind of goes more in line with longevity. Say that again. It also goes in line with confidence. I'm just going to say general health, okay, whether it's rehabilitation, well-being, longevity, having a high-quality life. Okay, so these are the three main reasons why people would walk into the gym. Okay, and a very common question that we receive is, I don't train that population. What do I do when they come to me? Okay, I want to give you guys the tools. We're going to give you the tools to walk out of here and know how to train every single person that wants to walk into this gym setting. We're not going to give you the tools to teach someone how to be a pro basketball player or a tennis player. No, that's not what we're here for. Okay, we're lifting weights, and we are the professionals at lifting weights. Okay, and we want to give you the confidence that you are able to train anyone with any of those goals, especially from day one. At a high level, things change. Okay, so I wouldn't be able to train, for example, a bodybuilder that's about to get on stage because there's a lot of factors that aren't my expertise, and that's totally fine. But if someone came to me and they've never stepped foot in the gym a day in their life and they said, I want to look like Hattie Boydell, that's a common request that I get. I know how to do that, firstly, because I work very closely with Hattie Boydell, and at all levels I know how to get there. Okay, but from day one, I want to give you guys the tools so that you can understand that everyone needs to understand these basic lifting fundamentals to start them off on their way to the journey of becoming a female athlete. Okay, number 2 here. Okay, you guys want to get strong and look great at the same time. As I said, aesthetics and strength, and actually health, longevity, but all goes hand in hand. We don't have to exclude one from the other. Just because I'm training for strength, it means I have to, not look good. Or just because I want to look better means I can't be strong. No, that's not the case. Okay, and we're going to teach you guys how we incorporate all of those styles of training together to achieve outstanding results. You don't know how to take Gen Pop and transform them into a female athlete. So this comes back to what we consider to be a female athlete. Once again, you don't need to be a competitive athlete to have the mindset of an athlete. Okay, so some of the things that it takes to be an athlete, this was, I guess, when Hattie and I first met. Hattie became a professional WBFF model and she came to a performance coach. What were your thoughts?
When I first met you?
On why you came to me in the first place. Don't tell people what you thought of me when you first met me. She didn't like me and I just found this out later.
So I actually reached out to Sebastian Oreb in 2014 and I'd already won my pro card. So I'd already reached like a new level for me as an athlete. And I reached out to him because I actually saw what he was doing with Base Body Babes. So when I reached out to him, he thought I wanted to train with the girls. I didn't want to train with the girls, I wanted to train with him, but I was inspired by what he was doing with the girls. I saw them doing deadlifting and squatting, and I thought, I want a piece of that. Because I'd just become a pro athlete, and I was going to step on the world stage for the first time, and I looked at the women I was competing with, and at that time, like Andrea Brazier, she was the world champion, and she was squatting, and I was like, I want to beat her in every way. And I say that with love. I was inspired by her, and that encouraged me to reach out and start looking at training in a different way. And look, I share this with Bass all the time, and I'm going to say it again. Strength training changed my life. I was already an athlete, but I didn't quite have an athlete's mindset. I was still navigating a relationship with myself that was somewhat unhealthy, and it wasn't until I really met Sebastian Oreb and he introduced me to the world of strength training that it just changed the way my relationship with training and ultimately myself. It wasn't about the way I looked, even though I was a fitness model, right? I came to him to compete at the world titles, but I came to him because I wanted to get strong, which meant that it actually didn't matter what I looked like. It mattered with how I performed. And when I first met Bass and I did my first session, we did our 5x5 and he sat me down for 5 minutes and I thought to myself,
so I'll just quickly interrupt. 5x5 is probably the most basic of basic strength training protocols. It's not bad at all. It's quite good, but that was pretty much our start point in the introduction of strength training to Hattie, which was absolutely new to her. So your style of training before that was much more than 5 reps.
I mean, just like most of us, maybe when we start in the industry or with clients, it was high reps, very short workouts, had to sweat, had to burn calories. There wasn't really a focus on performance, but more just like, how do I get as much in as possible and how do I get the scale to go less and less and less? I had to, to improve your body, whether you're competing or not, you have to build. And I really limited my growth because of the mindset that I had prior to thinking like an athlete. And so when I met Bass, what he wanted me to do was the complete opposite spectrum to what I'd ever let myself do. And I remember looking at him being like...
smiling at me like this, alligator
like a smiling assassin.
I thought she
and he
was
said,
happy.
I'll see you on Friday. And I said, but in my mind, I thought to myself, I never want to come back. But of course I did. And what was really great was that the next time I came to the gym to perform this 5x5 with him, I noticed that it felt a little bit easier, but I could put more on the bar. And I was like, this is really interesting. I have never experienced this before. And then I came back the following week and I got onto the bar, 5x5 again. And I was like, God, this feels even better than it did the first week and I'm lifting even heavier. And I just remember this shift and I was like, I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to outperform myself. And in that same year, I'd also started working with Lane Norton. So you'll see something that we talk about today, especially with nutrition, is why I do nutrition the way I do. because strength training and learning how to track my nutrition with what I like to call rigid flexibility were two very important pieces to becoming an athlete. Because when we're an athlete, we're not thinking about punishment, we're not thinking about doing less, we're not thinking about being small, we're thinking about how do I get the most out of myself, mentally, physically, spiritually. And this mindset of how do I support myself? How does my training support my goals? How does my nutrition support my needs? Hey, how do I know when to rest? Sometimes being the hardest worker in the room is knowing when to rest and when to play, when to push and when to pull back. Now, I only work with women. Bass works with men and women. And I love working with women because we are the hardest workers in the room. You go into any gym, you're going to see, and even now, like the movement of strength in women, when you go into the gym, you see girls in the squat rack, in the deadlift platform, you're just like, hell yes, sister, give it to me. That is so empowering for all of us as a global community. And I'm so grateful to have been a part of that movement and to still, really encourage that with my clients. As Bass said, you don't have to be a fitness model or a powerlifter to want to get strong. I've coached hundreds of women who are your everyday mom, sister, daughter, and they're now lifting double body weight. And they're not getting on stage, but you bet they have embraced the mindset of being an athlete. And something that I'm going to talk to over the weekend is language. And of course, the power of your mindset, because that determines everything.